We talked about this backstage. I said to you, I'm going to give you a copy of this recording so you can slice it and dice it and you can recycle it. And that's the cool thing about podcasts. You can take that audio, you can create content for multiple platforms, you can get it transcribed, you can create a blog. For those of you who don't know what the heck I'm talking about, do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, and I'll be brief on this but this is a really big topic. But you're talking about repurposing content.
Yeah, I call it the multiplier formula is what I call it.
That's perfect. And that's exactly what it is. So like this, we're doing an audio video platform that you can pull 10 seconds out of any part of this and you have like great 10-second video. You can convert it to audio only. You can convert it to text. Here's the thing that I think a lot of content creators don't realize, and it's the amount of power that you have in such a small piece of content. This is going to be under 1 hour, but you could turn this into 8 months worth of content easily without any problem. And you never have to recreate anything. It's just a matter of repurposing this, multiplying it every chance you get. You can find single sentences that work. That's the power of multiplying your content and using it, repurposing it, using it over and over again in all the different formats. Super powerful. I recommend everybody to do that.
And suddenly what happens with that is you are literally being seen anywhere and everywhere. And that's really, really important for influence and authority, credibility, and positioning, particularly if you do want to be speaking on bigger stages or getting on more of those influencer podcasts as well. I want to come back to Shelley's question. She's wondering, how do I find the best podcast for my niche and how do I get started?
The first thing I would do is really figure out, okay, who is it that I serve really well? Figure out the type of podcast, find where those narrow ones are. And I start with just Google searches is really the best thing to do. The other thing you can do is start looking through Facebook groups and also LinkedIn groups and see if you can actually find groups that are devoted to that and people can start giving you those leads. So start even doing some of your own social media posts, asking for people to introduce you. And then also when you are on a podcast, ask if they know anyone else in the space. Like, hey, would you collaborate with any other podcasters in this space? Or has anyone ever really stood out to you that's a host themselves? They came on as a guest maybe as well. Ask those questions. Just really get strategic with how you think you can find those and start just asking for leads. So every time you get a referral, just ask somebody else and keep a database of this. That's a great way to really get started in this.
Sometimes people talk about speaking and they go, it's great for brand awareness, but it's not necessarily great for income. And that's a really common misbelief. And I hear that in podcasts. In fact, I reached out to my community and I said, hey, what questions do you have for Alex? And one of those questions was, can I actually make money from podcasting and what's the best way to do that?
Can you really monetize a podcast? And the answer is absolutely you can. And really at any point. The thing is, so many people, their mind is fixated on advertising because that's what social media has taught us, right? If you're using Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, advertising is the way to go. So when we think podcasting, I'm going to grow an audience and then I'm going to get some advertisers and then I'm going to be making a lot of money. The truth is, it's really hard to make a lot of money advertising on a podcast. You have to have a really big audience. I don't say it to be discouraging, but advertising is not the only option. There's a lot of better ways to do things. You build a really narrow audience. You have to have a really narrow focus on your podcast. It can't be a general. It can't be like Alex Sanfilippo's conversations about everything. I really like someone to have a call to action. What you can do is you can create a very short course or some sort of giveaway, just a low barrier to entry that you can give away for free. And from there, you can start doing some upsells. That's the biggest way that I see people do, like get really successful with podcasting and monetizing. Another thing you can do that a lot of people don't necessarily think about is you can actually use your guests to potentially be clients of yours. I've been on some podcasts that I now actually am a customer of the person who had me on the show because they did a really great job, but also they showed off what they were able to do.
There's what I call expert positioning podcasts, and then there is income generating podcasts. Then those bigger name podcasts are great for authority and credibility, yes. And they look great on Media One Sheet and on your website, as seen on, Entrepreneur on Fire or something like that. Right. So the smaller podcasts that tend to have like a much more niched audience, they can be more lucrative. So those smaller podcasts can be income generating podcasts. Some people do just think, I just want to get on a really great big podcast. And then they get upset when it doesn't really lead anywhere. And then they think, well, podcasts don't work. No, right. Wrong podcast, wrong audience, potentially. But you can still leverage the fact that you appeared on this big name podcast, make it an impact and influence and increase your income as well. So there's a place for both of them.